one, and we are live for a new episode of the Electric Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintroud. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. This episode of the Electric Podcast is sponsored by Electrify America, the largest public fast charging network in the US. We're going to have a little bit more to say about them later on, but thanks for sponsoring the show. And this week, we're going to take the little different approach because there was a lot of electric vehicle news on related to Tesla. So we're going to jump into that first because we have some big stories to do there, and then a few Tesla stories at the end. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to keep a quick eye on the Tesla delivery numbers that might actually be released like right now. Like they could have released them this morning, but they didn't. And since the market just closed a minute ago, they might do that now, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just gonna
So if anybody out there sees the Tesla numbers, put it in the
yeah,
comments.
put it in
Like
the comment, and that may be the
we'll take
easiest
a
way.
we'll take a small hiatus and
Yeah, and discuss them while I finish my article about them. But for now, we're gonna start with something that we teased last week, but unfortunately, said you weren't able to talk about it due to an embargo. But you got your butt in the Rivian R1T, one of the first person to outside of Rivian to try the electric pickup truck. What did you think?
well, first of all, thanks to you for not being able to travel into the U.S.
Well,
So
thanks
I
to the COVID laws about going to Europe if you're not American.
thank you, COVID. I appreciate
Mm,
that. Rivian obviously is something we all care about at Electrek. It's a kind of like the Tesla, but a decade later,
mm,
and focused on SUVs and trucks. So it was great. Like RJ Scringe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but the CEO was there with his family, and we had some like really good face to face time. He's really like obviously a very smart guy, PhD from MIT. I think he's like in his like probably
Sure.
early 30s.
I don't know about. Like, I mean, you started Rivian like a decade ago, so
Right.
more than a
Uh,
decade ago, probably.
so
Like,
probably he's just quite young. He's younger than me,
mm.
which like I'm like hey, like uh, so I don't know. He's just a impressive person. Talks like pretty normally to journalists, and his employees have a lot of respect for him. It's a very open dialogue thing. Not too pretentious. Like it kind of feels like they're really all about the product and the camaraderie and everything. So good uh, scene there. And so they put us up in like a hotel near Breckenridge, Colorado. So 2 hours outside of Denver. We got a ride from the airport in the R1T, which is the pickup. I was sitting with Snazzy Labs, one of the a YouTuber that we've liked for a long time, and we drove from the airport, and from the airport to the place 2 hours, you get like some pretty good seat time there. We weren't like actually allowed to drive it yet, but that gave us a lot of time to play with like the center display, like look all around, up and down, and everything.
Okay,
And
so you were sitting in front for that ride?
I was sitting in front, yeah. So the first thing that stuck out to me was like, this is not a prototype. This is not a startup kind of vehicle. It felt like, a truck from Ford or, VW or whatever. It's like a really solid, well put together thing. There were some small things like the windshield wiper on my side, or sorry, the window would stop rolling up like almost all the way. And that's just like one of those bugs or whatever. But that was something. And then the big problem I had was like the center display. It was a little slow. Like you would tap on a map and drag, and it would be like a second, and then it would go. But you know, VW has this problem, and probably worse, and on a smaller display.
Hmm.
So I feel like all this kind of stuff is very fixable things. Like the big stuff, like the design of it looks really cool. Um, so you know, uh, 2 hours driving. The EV range prediction, it gets 314 miles, but they had the off-road tires on it, so I think it was
Mhm.
predicting like, I think we had like 270. It wasn't full at the airport, and then we drove around 100 miles, and when we got there, it was very like on
On point.
170. Yeah, so the range estimate was pretty good. Um, so we had like the powwow with RJ and a lot of the upper management engineers. Very engineer focused place. You go to a GM event and it's
Mhm.
people in suits and they don't have any idea about the vehicle that you're talking about. They're just like, we were brought here for an event and we come from an outsourced company or whatever.
But to be
So
fair, they do have sometimes engineer there. But what happens, to your point, is like you show up. They have a dinner that they organize, like they did probably with Rivian there, and then we try to fight to get their seat next to the engineer, so we don't have to talk about marketing all night, and we
right,
can actually talk about the tech behind those cars.
right. So there were no marketing people there, as far as I know. I mean, maybe there was. It was all engineers, all like really smart people, all dedicated to the EV cause, excited
Mhm.
about the prospects, excited to show us the vehicles. So it's hard not to get like, a little bit fanboy about the whole situation.
Mhm.
Anyway, so go to sleep that night, wake up 7:30 in the morning. We get in a big circle. They tell us like, hey, this is a real test drive. This is no BS.
Mhm.
We're gonna go up this mountain. I think it's called the Weber
Mhm.
Pass or something. And we were at 9,000 feet that day, at the hotel, and we were
Mhm.
going up to like 12,000 something 100 feet, which is pretty high.
Mhm.
In the group before us, two journalists had gotten altitude sickness. One almost needed an airlift. So they're like,
Wow.
you need to
Jeez.
drink a lot of water. You need
Mhm.
to like breathe heavily. If you're exerting yourself, like don't like hold your breath for too long. So we got in the vehicles. I was driving first. There was another journalist with me. And we just got on this trail and just started going up and up and up and up the mountain. And it was a narrow trail. It
Mhm.
was like full of huge boulders, like pointy rocks.
Mhm.
There was I think one or two flat tires. It was just like so different than any other press drive I've ever been on. It was a big deal. Like it was a real test of a vehicle, and no other vehicles, like production vehicles, were on that trail. It was all like
Mhm.
heavily modded Toyota 4Runners,
Mhm.
or a raised up Land Rover or something kind of nuts. So I think they were pretty surprised to see like a chain of electric trucks uh, with like with stock suspension going up this hill.
Mhm.
Made it up fine. It's like fantastic to drive. It's as anybody who owns an electric vehicle knows, it's so much easier. One pedal driving up the hill or the mountain makes it super easy going over those rocks. It just makes everything so easy, and it's quiet, so you're not like you can actually hear nature and all the good things. Like probably 5 minutes into it, I was like, this is the best truck I've ever been in by far.
Mhm.
And after, so we did that. They cooked on the camp kitchen. So the camp kitchen is this thing that you slide out of that bay that's on the side of the pickup. Um, and they cooked us, like a meal in a super picturesque place. Um, it, you know, like you can't really cook that much. So they had some, packed stuff or whatever. And then we went down the mountain and then got onto some mountain roads. So this is like the other end of the spectrum. So you switch into, you're in rock climb mode when you're going up and down. You switch into sport mode, and the thing goes down around 7 inches, maybe even more, 8 inches, and now you're kind of a sports car, with huge tires, obviously, and 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So no slouch at all, like faster than most, most electric cars, like just like kind of a rocket. And they did a lot of work with the suspension to make it um, feel really good on streets. So that was good as well. I insisted that we go to a Electrify America station where they were charging at night
Mhm.
anyway. just so I could see what the charge was like. I think there's a picture on there somewhere. Like there's
I'll
in
get
there.
to it.
Yeah, it charged I think at 145 kilowatts, but that was at 50%. And they had showed me a video earlier of them charging at like 10%, and they were getting up to I think 220 kilowatts.
Hmm.
So the thing charges fast from a kilowatt standpoint, but you have to remember that's a 135 kilowatt hour battery. So even if you're throwing a lot of kilowatts in there at one time, you've got a lot to fill up. It's basically double the size of a for instance a long range a Model Y battery. So if a Model Y battery charges at 100 to go half the tank, you have to go 200 to get at the same speed. So that's something to consider. But it's a truck. It's got huge wheels. Yeah, 144. I think it went up to 145 there, and
Was
that
it
was at
50%?
50% there. Um, So yeah, I mean, just impressing me left and right, up and down. Everything was awesome. It was doing like crazy acrobatic gymnastic stuff on the hills. It's got so many Easter eggs in it, like from front to back, and that's kind of one of the things I initially fell in love with Tesla for. Like the Model S had so many cool
Mhm.
little things, like the rear facing seat in the back, and like obviously the screen and all the doohickeys on there. This Rivian did a lot of stuff like that. It's called the gear. What is it? The
Gear tunnel.
gear tunnel, which like it seems kind of gimmicky, but like it's pretty cool that you can throw a surfboard or whatever in there, or a person if if you're hijacking somebody.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a pickup like a bed, an open bed, you want some closed storage too, and you have a giant front trunk in there
Yep.
too, so that's probably your go-to enclosed, weather protected storage. But the cargo tunnel is definitely like for longer things too. It's super useful if you want to put some things that you don't want to be up into the environment with the bed.
Yeah. And there's also below the rear seat, there's also like a ton of space.
Mm.
So, and then if you don't opt for if you're not doing this kind of stuff we were doing, maybe you don't need a spare tire. There's a ton of space under there that's lockable. And then, it's not the biggest bed. I think you mentioned in one of your previous stories on it that the bed is, uh,
5.5, I think.
yeah,
Mm.
obviously not the best,
Mhm.
the longest, but I think they figured, that hits kind of a sweet spot in terms of, not great for plywood, but good for, a motorcycle or something.
What am I
Uh,
looking at here?
oh yeah. So that is, kind of weird. Inside the center, uh, between the seats, there's a speaker, and it's loud and sounds really good. And it's Bluetooth, and you can just take it out. And in addition to being a speaker, it's a really bright light, so you
Hmm.
always have a Bluetooth speaker with light with you, and it's always charging. Another thing is like in this driver's side door, there's just a flashlight. It's just always there, and if you ever need a flashlight, boom, there's your flashlight. And what's kind of cool about this is like there's 7,776 batteries in the pack, the Rivian
Battery cells.
battery cells. Yeah, and they're actually they're not 18650s. They're the 21. They're the same
70.
kind as the Model Y and Model 3, 2120s.
2170.
2170. That's right. So the the 7,777th cell is the one in that flashlight. I mean, it's just quirky.
Am I
So
looking at the key here?
yeah, that's a key. There's also a wristband fob that seems like a good idea initially, but like you
Then you
lose
have
it
to wear
or
a wristband.
right. Yeah. It's just a neat thing. I'm sure most people use the key or the app, or
Mm.
you can do all the things
You
that
can go
you would
fully
expect.
keyless with the app. Just use
Yeah,
the app. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. I think you kind of have to have that nowadays. It does have a rear screen, kind of like the Tesla Plaid, but you can't play video games on it. It's mostly just for uh, like the air conditioning and heating of the rear seats, so
Hmm.
that those people can control it themselves. The engineers did say something about, oh, we could update it with something, but I don't think that's
Pretty
very high
small
on it.
though. I think it's smaller than the one in Tesla. Is it?
Yeah, and I don't think it's got like any kind of graphics cards in there.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, just like front to back, really cool stuff. I'm trying to think of what else. That center console is very deep, can hold lots of stuff. There's in the back of both seats. There's like a hanger that you're looking at now.
Can you push that in, or is it always like that?
It's always like that, but
Mm.
right above it's a USB-C slot,
Oh
so
yeah, you're right.
charger. So it's
Wow.
like there's I don't know like 8 USB-C things all over the car. It's just decked out with stuff, and it also I think they did a really good job with the design. It's both rugged and kind of sparse, and but also kind of luxurious with the wood grain stuff. It just felt like way better than a stock car, what a stock Ford's going to be,
Mm.
or like a Model Y is a little bit on the Spartan side. So I don't know, like whatever I say is not going to really matter. But I made a purchase of one, so that shows you like how I really feel about it. I got the SUV one because we go to Vermont with the dog and can't have a dog in the back probably. Uh, so um, yeah, that camp kitchen was super cool. Like I would probably never buy that because I don't think I would camp out enough to like warrant it. But if you're
Hmm.
that type of person who goes camping, like that is just like pornography because it's just you know you're cooking like full meals right there in the back.
Keep in mind though that unlike pornography, which is mostly free these days, these things are not free.
No, five thousand
uh,
dollars for that thing.
yeah, if you like, we can talk about pricing now, but it's probably like fairly priced because, like you just explained, it's a luxurious vehicle that just happens to also be an off-road machine for um, uh, and that is also electric, but. Uh, the price is fair for that, but then if you start like decking it out with all the options that we're talking about, it goes up pretty quick, right?
Yeah. Um, I
Did
mean,
you already configure your for the
yeah,
SUV?
mine's gonna end up being like 77 whatever, which is not that bad when you think about like, all right, you're going to get like in New York, you're going to get hopefully $10,000 back
Mm-hmm.
in incentives, and then you're going to save tons of money on gas, and it all of a sudden starts to make you know get close to 50,000, which makes what you're going to pay anyway. I also like I really appreciate the size. Like, yeah, trucks have been getting like absurdly big over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
um, this one isn't absurdly big. I think it would actually fit in our garage, although I have to probably measure it. And you'd have to bring the wheels down. But it also didn't feel like unwieldy on the road. Where I remember when I was driving the F-150 Lightning, it felt like I was driving a like cement truck or something. It just felt so big, so wide.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at your passenger, and they're like not even within arm's reach or whatever.
I mean, some
So,
people like that too. It's just
oh
that,
yeah,
like you said, it's there's not much like it. Like you go in the market, like Ford just released their
Maverick.
Maverick.
Yeah.
I don't know how it compares in terms of size to this. I would assume the Maverick is smaller than the R1T though.
Yeah, this sits right between the Maverick and the
Yes,
F-150.
so it's an interesting size. I mean, it's unique on the market right now, so I don't think it's gonna have any issues selling. But brace yourself if you want the full decked out version, the performance version, anything like that. You're gonna have to pay the price. I don't know if we can. Do we have? I didn't see any pricing in your.
Oh yeah, so Greg in the comments is saying how did I configure mine? I got like it's like the adventure package. I got the blue. I was kind of conflicted. I like the green and the blue. I actually kind of like the yellow too, but that was going to be too much. But RJ got the blue, and I was like, this guy's been looking at these things for like 5 years now. So maybe I should just go with what the CEO is thinking. So I got blue, and actually the guy Snazzy Labs YouTube channel guy got a blue one as well. So it like I wonder if they're breaking even on these press drives because like all the press people are ending up buying these things after
I mean,
driving them.
If you were a Rivian dealership and you were trying to bring people on test drive, you should probably just just do exactly what they just did,
Yeah.
and you'll make a killing. All right, so the cheapest version is the Explorer package, and we're talking about the R1T now, the
Hmm.
pickup truck, starting at 67,500. But that one is coming next year, early next year. So the one that they're saying right now, the launch edition, which is I think sold out anyway, so you won't even be able to buy it. Start at 73,000. Comes with a few goodies, but basically the same truck, which is the one that you just talked about, the Adventure package, is gonna start at the same price. So there's no that's good on Rivian, not to like overprice for the early adopters, and that is the same price. So on top of it, you actually get like more out of it. I think it comes already with like the bigger tires, all-terrain tires, 20-inch or 22 sports wheel. The upgrade is included. You have a special color option, interior badging. No, I mean they have a lot of it. That's nice.
Yeah, it was a great car. I still like it's. Oh, I'm a week out from the experience, and I was like, that was nice. That was fun. Kind of want to do that some more.
I mean, we haven't been in one of those in a while too because of COVID. That was like kind of the first like test drive that we had, full on press drive they call it, in a long time. But at the same time, Lucid was also doing its own launch, and they brought our colleague Scooter to their plant in Arizona, where they officially started the production of the Dream editions of the Air. So this is much like we discussed that for Rivian just last month. The timing's interesting because Rivian and Lucid have always been seen as like the two main electric vehicle startup, the two most likely to succeed, if you will, and they basically started production almost at the same time. Of course, Rivian with an electric pickup truck, and Lucid with what is basically going to be one of the like the top performance sedan on the market, competing with the Model S. At least beating it on range, maybe not on all the performance specs, and it's also a bit of a smaller sedan, but with a luxurious interior, a little bit bigger interior, and I mean more luxurious. That always depends on your opinion, if you ask me. But yeah, the officially started production, and they already they confirm at the same time they have 13,000 reservation for the Air right now, which is significant because the car is not cheap too. Speaking of, I don't have the price here. We need to start putting the prices on the
Mm.
articles. Because that's always the main question people always ask us. But Scooter also had a test drive in it that you can check out. He just posted it today on the website, so you can check out right now. He was very satisfied by it. He liked it a lot. I don't know if like you placed an order for it, but it
A
was as close as it gets to a
thousand,
thumbs
a
up. Is
thousand
that yeah,
horsepower luxury sedan.
yeah.
Uh, I think
I'm just trying to find the price
that's
here.
crazy how the trunk opens.
Yeah, it's pretty large trunk. Like they really managed to find a way to. Well, I mean, not the trunk was going to be large anyway, but the opening they really found a way to like make it like a large opening, so that's easy to as good as it gets without being hatchback. Really,
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, it's a pretty appealing car. I want to see how like the first production ones, go get off the line and stuff.
the back seat I was a bit disappointed compared to what they shown before. Like the update to the car, the back seat definitely got a significant downgrade, but at least now it's a three-seater in the back.
Hmm.
So you do get that. But if you remember, like I don't know if you put I don't think you put a picture of it, but the previous version of the Lucid before the update had a like super back seat.
I can't remember. Like I remember one of them, but I thought it was like the Faraday Future backseat that was super duper luxurious. But I
Well,
guess
yeah, they were similar back then, but I think Faraday is sticking with their more luxurious version. I mean, they're basically like trying to be the Rolls Royce of electric vehicle right now.
right.
Lucid is trying to address a different market, really. And I wish I would be able to tell you what price. No, well, that's wild. Think I want to say 169, the Dream Edition, like the because it's fully equipped version. It's the one that comes with over 500 miles of range, depending on the wheel size that you choose. But beautiful vehicle. I mean, look at this here. The interior, a lot of people that are like not only scooter but a bunch of people that got to see the car in person. The first production cars, those are production cars that are going to start being delivered later this month to customers. The interior feels like extremely premium, like something that you'd be the way I've seen people describe it, and the way I think it looks like from the pictures, it's like a mix of Tesla's minimalist approach to interior design while still trying to go luxurious, like the German luxury vehicle, like a Audi and a BMW or Mercedes, what you're used to here. So a more like screen touchscreen approach, but with still a luxurious feel to it. So it's both minimalist and also has luxurious features to it. Yeah, you have the same thing as the Rivian in the back here. I don't know not sure what's happening here, but I'm a fan. I can't wait to get a proper test drive in it.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
And I mean, I have my disagreement with needing 500 miles of range, but what I can say for sure though is that I'm glad that there is such a car that exists out there, because for the people, at least as a psychological barrier, people that
Right.
say that you cannot drive 500 miles on an electric car. You can in this one. Of course, you probably won't do it anyway,
Yeah.
but you can. Maybe for people that like don't have like a garage or a place to park and charge overnight, that it can be useful. You just have to go like every 2 weeks, basically, go charge at the public charging station. But let's be honest, if you have $160,000 car, you probably have a parking spot to park it and charge it overnight. I'm just guessing. I don't know your situation. Let me go back here. All right, now we'll talk about Ford, because they had a massive announcement this week, like very significant announcement, where they basically announced four new factories, if I understand the announcement correctly. Like it took me a minute to like just digest the announcement because it's significant. It's called Blue Oval City, which is going to be in Tennessee, more specifically in Stanton, Tennessee. And it's gonna be Blue Oval City is gonna be just a massive electric vehicle factory, specifically electric pickup truck, specifically the next gen F1, not just F-150. They leave that open. The next gen F series electric pickup truck. So the probably the next gen F-150 Lightning, but also other F1, like of course there's like the F250. There's a bunch of other F series pickup trucks, so bigger ones. But yeah, we have this image here of our rendering, I should say, of the factory. And at Blue Oval City, there's going to be this giant new electric pickup truck factory, and also a battery gigafactory at the same complex. So two factories, and then separately, there's going to be what they call the Blue Oval SK Battery Park. This one is going to be located in Glendale, Kentucky, and it's going to be a twin battery factory, gigafactory, really, because it's going to be in a gigawatt hour of capacity. So two separate factories, as you can see here, at the same location. And they didn't specify exactly the production capacity of those, but they specified the three battery factories, because now we're talking about three. There's these twins one and the one that's also at the Blue Oval City complex in Tennessee. The three together, they plan for 129 gigawatt hour of battery capacity when they start production. And production, well, I would assume there's going to be a ramp up, but the only timeline that they release is a start of production in 2025. So that's going to be both for the vehicle factory and the battery factories. And yeah, so that coincides with the launch of the next gen F-150 Lightning. We've been talking about the production plan for the Lightning. We've heard that they plan for 15,000 units next year when the pickup launch, ramp up to 55,000 units in 2023, 80,000 units in 2024. That was the recent announcement of like a acceleration of the production plan. But the real volume is going to come from the next gen in 2025, where they're talking about 160,000 units. So in 2025, this factory here, the Blue Oval City, would produce 160,000 units of the F-150 Lightning, but I would also assume that production of other electric pickup truck in the F series would happen at that plant too. Maybe not on the same year, but around that time you can expect the other launches. So this is massive investment from both, I should say, Ford and SK Innovation, the Korean battery manufacturer, is their partner for the batteries here, and the partners for the factories. So it's going to be a partnership similar to Tesla and Panasonic, where they have at the same location. They're both investing in battery manufacturing on location, much like Tesla and Panasonic at Gigafactory Nevada. So Ford was, if you remember, just a few years ago, if they were asked, I think it was the prior CEO, so not Jim Farley, but I remember the other guy's name. There was a CEO for a while, and
Hackett,
no, Hackett is still at
Field,
Ford. Field, you're right. I think it's
Mark
Field.
Fields.
And he was asked about, so Tesla is doing this whole thing with batteries now, doing their own batteries, partnering with Panasonic with batteries production, and what Ford is still, and then that's what still when what back then was Ford was saying they were all in electric vehicles and everything, but they were like, we don't see any value in getting ourselves involved in battery manufacturing. So it looks like a 180 on that front, and now they are fully involved with it. Of course, still with a partner, but also GM did the same thing with LG. So we see a clear trend going on that front. Like automakers are now realizing the value of being as involved as possible in battery production, because without battery production, you won't have any volume production of electric vehicles, and that's what they're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just in the U.S. either. Like Mercedes and Volkswagen all have battery partners that they're building on, and like obviously Tesla deserves a lot of credit for seeing that early. When you start making cars early, you start to see the problems of the supply chain, and you're like, oh, these guys' batteries aren't reliable. Like they can't expect to get them when they say they send them. We need to own this part. So that's where they're at
Mm,
now.
exactly. All right. Do we want to talk a little bit about Electrify America?
Yep. So this episode of the Electrek Podcast is brought to you by Electrify America. Electrify America now operates the largest public ultra-fast electric vehicle charging network in the United States. A few updates on that network. Electrify America is now coast to coast with more than 650 EV charging stations, with new locations opening every week. It now offers ultra fast charging stations with speeds up to 150 kilowatts and 350 kilowatts for capable vehicles, allowing you to charge up as fast as possible and get back on the road. EA offers a new monthly subscription plan with contactless payments through its mobile apps, and with it, you can save up to 25% on charging. It also offers plug and charge for vehicles like the Rivian R1T, which is really nice. If you're an EV driver and want to learn more about Electrify America and its growing network of charging stations across the U.S., find out what they're up to at electrifyamerica.com. That's electrifyamerica.com. Or hit up the link in the show notes. Thanks again to Electrify America for sponsoring this week's show.
Yes. Thank you, Electrify America. All right, now we're gonna switch to Tesla news for this week, and the first one is the end of the quarter delivery wave. We got an email from Elon Musk. Well, I mean, we didn't get an email from Elon Musk. But employees got an email from Elon Musk, and
It made it to our desk.
somehow, and last month we reported on a company-wide call that he had, where he was saying that this is gonna be the most insane. I think he used an ableist word, was terrible from Elon. The most insane month for delivery ever for Tesla, and now this translated to the most intense delivery week ever. Last week up to yesterday. Really, yesterday was the last day um, of the quarter, and Elon was warning employees that this is going to be a hardcore delivery wave, and might be the last one. Apparently, I wouldn't bet any money on that, but Elon is saying that things should smooth out in the next few quarters, or at least somehow this quarter, and which is the fourth quarter, and then next year, starting next year, should be easier. I can start to believe next year once they have some kind of ramp up of production at Gigafactory Berlin, which is going to make a big difference. But even then, it's only going to make a difference with the Model Y, which, to be fair, is probably Tesla's biggest vehicle right now. But until they can have some Model 3 production too, I think it's still going to be a little push at the end of each quarter. But yeah, to be fair, probably a smoother one than what's happening right now. But yeah, so the intensity of this delivery wave this quarter was due to Tesla having production issues, especially early in the quarter, and even producing car with missing parts, and I think their service team had those parts, and that's always a logistical nightmare because you need to now not only ship the cars to delivery centers but ship the parts separately, and then you have the service team who already have plenty of work to do to service the car before you even deliver the car to the customer. So obviously, it pushed a lot of delivery timelines for Tesla and pushed them more towards the end of the quarter, which already has more deliveries than usual because of Tesla's model of um, producing cars for exportation at each factory early in the quarter to give them time to get to their location to be delivered to the end customer by the end of the quarter, so that there's not too many cars in transit, and that obviously result in a ton of deliveries at the end of the quarter, and that makes or break Tesla. We're talking like in the last few weeks, tens of thousands of vehicles to be delivered, and if they're not delivered, then Tesla is basically left holding the bag here, where they spent all that money producing those cars and they don't get a penny, or at least not on paper, until the customer takes delivery. So we were expecting that Tesla might release the numbers this morning, but they didn't. So normally they don't do it while the market is open. So we're expecting that maybe, as we discussed at the beginning of the show, they would do it. But I've been keeping an eye on it, and I didn't see them being released. So right now, I would expect probably tomorrow morning is not impossible. Tesla, I think Tesla have done that on the weekend in the past. So I'm gonna wake up early tomorrow. Well, I have to wake up early anyway tomorrow, but I'll keep an eye on that, and you can be sure.
Not to ruin your evening, but Tesla could release it at any time, like from
Uh,
now until they release it.
you're technically right, but if they don't release it, let's say by the end of the hour here right now, I would expect them to be tomorrow morning. I mean, I'm gonna keep an eye on anyway, but for most people right now, I would expect tomorrow morning, or if not tomorrow morning, then I think it's gonna wait until Monday before the markets open on Monday. But yeah, the average expectation from Wall Street right now is 222,000 units, which is in my opinion, kind of high. It's high expectations for Tesla because, again, what we just discussed, there's production limitations. So they're assuming that not only Tesla managed to completely work through those complications, but they ramp up production this quarter, which looks like is the case in China for sure. But then bringing those to Europe and delivering them to Europe, and then at the last minute in China. So the one of the big difference is going to be the local production delivering them to China this last month. What happened in the last few weeks of last month? Um, we're gonna get those data anyway from the Chinese market in the next week or two. But for sure, Tesla's gonna release their numbers before that, so we're gonna keep an eye on that instead. All right. So the other big story from Tesla this week has been the FSD Beta. So the following of the wider release of the FSD Beta, what happened last week, right after the podcast, Tesla released their update, 10.1 version to the early access owners. But there was also supposed to be this download button, which has changed it to the request button, they're calling it now, and that comes with the safety score, the new safety score thing, which I think Seth, you had some experience with already right now. You did test it out. Oh, you even put it on right down on the podcast. Oh, you got it up a little bit, 87. You were at 82, I think,
Yeah,
earlier this week, right?
been driving really, really carefully. I actually
Yeah.
had to. I went to meet Blair from 95 Toys for lunch, and way down in Terrytown, I was like, can't take the white car. I got to take the black car because, uh, like, I'm going to drive fast and irresponsibly to get there on time, and then get back in a reasonable amount of time. So yeah, that car is like the slow car for like casual things at this point, and
Yeah,
we're up to
you
87.
you noted in your article about it that like slow Tesla everywhere. Like you
Yeah.
see a lot of Tesla driving slowly
Well, it
right
was just
now.
funny when I was trying to get my score down. I saw another Tesla
Yeah.
driving slow, and I was like, I wonder if that guy is doing the same thing I'm doing. I was going to ask him,
Yes.
but
So for people that are not up to date on the safety score, it's basically the same thing that we reported before with the Tesla insurance. They're using the same data, including autopilot disengagement, forced disengagement from not listening to the warnings, to put your hands on the not to put your hands on the wheel, but to actually apply torque to the wheel, and things like forward collision warnings, which have been an issue for a lot of people. I know for yourself it has been because of your driveway. You
right.
get some false negative, which a lot of people get false negative on those. So you really have to try to avoid those situations as best as you can, because that will negatively affect your score. And what we learned this week is how Tesla actually plans to roll that out using the safety score, roll out the request, the download of the FSD beta. So starting next Friday, Tesla's going to release the 10.2 to the early access program, and to a wider release of the FSD beta, starting with around 1,000 new owners per day based on your safety score. So the way Elon said it is that it's going to be like the first day, the first few days, people that have 100%, 100 of 100, and then after that go down to the 99, 90 on 100, and then 98, 100, with about 1,000 per day. So it's hard to tell how long it would take to get to you, for example, at 87 right now, because we just don't know how many people are bought the FSD in the
It's
US. But
probably
I would
like 5 years away.
I the take we know that the take rate, that we got some data from the take rate of the FSD package a few weeks ago, and it's not that high. So I mean, it's definitely in the tens of thousands in the US, I would assume, that have them at this point. But so even for the worst scores, it should be achievable in a month or two, I would guess.
Hope so.
Also, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla like ramps up. I know, actually, I would be surprised if they do, because the whole thing is like taking it as slow as possible
Right.
for the release. So I don't think they're gonna ramp that up, especially as you go down. You go with the supposedly not as safe drivers, but as we learn, it's not as simple as that, because there's plenty of false negative apparent that is bringing people's score down. I mean, I think the first after your first drive, you were like 70% or something
Yeah, it
you
was really
had,
bad.
and you were trying to drive as safely as possible, but you got a few forward collision warning in your driveway, like
Yeah,
which,
it was like everything that possibly could
uh,
go wrong did go wrong. And then there was like I was on autopilot and I had to disengage because there was like a one of those cleaners in the left lane of the road. So like the autopilot wasn't disengaging, and I was like, oh
mm.
crap. So I slammed on the brakes and I was like, crap, that's gonna kill me.
Well, yeah, and the braking too is also forceful braking. It gets you some points off too.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind. All right. So the other big story this week that was related to the FSD was the release of the NDA that Tesla has made beta tester in the early access program sign. So there's been a lot of confusion about this NDA, and kind of the story kind of emerged of Galileo Russell, who's a Tesla investor, and he's kind of like the spokesperson for the retail investors at Tesla, or at least he was a little while since Tesla put him on the earnings call and everything. But since then, they move on to the Say technology software. But he's still a prominent Tesla retail investor, and also happens to be in the full self-driving beta program with their early access. And last week, he said in one of his videos that I mean, if I'm quoting here, Tesla doesn't want us sharing all the clips from the videos, just like when it looks good, because they know people take it out of context. So this was a strange comment from him, I think, is that he was kind of attributing to Tesla that Tesla was telling people not to share the video that doesn't make them look good. I to be honest, like he said that while he was driving on the video, so I give him, sorry, the benefit of the doubt, and I reached out to him like make to clarify his comment and everything. He didn't answer, so we have to take his comment from what it is, since he didn't elaborate on them. But then what happened is that Vice got a hand on the actual NDA that people in the early access signed to get the FSD beta, and there's some language in there that kind of match what Galileo was saying here, which the actual language that they use is that the NDA says, do remember that there are a lot of people that want Tesla to fail. Don't let them mischaracterize your feedback in media posts. And then it goes to say that to share those media posts selectively. So they don't go as far as select the ones that are look good for Tesla, but the simple fact that the language is in there, you can add one and one together, and what they're saying basically is don't give any ammunition to the people that are trying to get Tesla to fail. But obviously, it's problematic because you're saying that to people that are the only one right now giving a public look into the FSD beta, because Tesla is not really doing that. Um, so we have to rely on those people, and those people are clearly being um, they're being encouraged by Tesla to censor themselves. And Tesla is not censoring them, it looks like. So to be clear, so it's not like Tesla is asking them to take down videos or anything like that. But the language, and then just based on what Galileo said too, it looks like it's being interpreted by at least some FSD beta tester that they to censor themselves to not make Tesla look bad with the FSD. And I mean, we got a good example this week too, because just before when Galileo said that, he said that because right before that, um, he shared a video of he does this test run with the FSD in Seattle where there's the monorail, and it's a very weird way to bond. It's not that weird, but you can see why it would be weird for a computer driving because of the lane markings and the posts for the monorail where you can actually go in between them, but you're not supposed to. Anyway, he posted one, and the he posted a video of it where the FSD beta completely failed, and in the video was doing illegal driving maneuvers in there. And another Tesla investor by the name of Tyler Hogan on Twitter shared the video, or a clip of the video at least, and all he said is "damn" and shared a clip of the video. But the clip was picked up by a lot of people, was shared on Twitter, and was shared by a lot of Tesla shorts, people that want Tesla to fail to Tesla's point. But then Galileo went after Hogan, asking him to take down the video, the clips that he posted of his own video. And he went a little bit hard on him with that. He threatened to call his employer if he didn't take down the tweet, which didn't matter much to Hogan because he's his own employer. And apparently, he didn't. Talking to Hogan after he let him know that there's no point contacting his employer since he's his own employer. Then Galileo kind of went off on him and said that he was worried about Tesla taking away FSD because of his clip being shared, and he took down his video and everything like that. So you can see that this is a problem of like self censorship happening right now with the beta program. But my personal issue with it too is like what's happening, especially this within the context of the Tesla community having a problem with criticism at some times, which to be fair, everyone has a problem with criticism, but it gets amplified, I think, with Tesla because it's polarizing issue. Uh, and for years, the people that want Tesla to fail have been very aggressive too against Tesla. So there's kind of a pushback that is just as aggressive, which is not good. But it, Tesla is kind of associated like, oh, if we post you post a clip, don't post a clip that can be used by people that want Tesla to fail. And that what that result in is, and that's what happened with Hogan, is like you associated people that are going to criticize a behavior of the FSD beta as someone who wants Tesla to fail, when there's actually could be perfectly reasonable criticism of those clips. And for Hogan is a great example. I know a lot of people are calling him a Tesla short in disguise or whatever, but the guy is has been a Tesla shareholder for since the IPO. There's literally videos of him online going to earrings in Connecticut because he lives there or near there. When Tesla was trying to avoid the direct sell ban there, and he's campaigning for Tesla there to open up, and he's obviously extremely high on electric vehicle and on Tesla itself. But he does criticize some aspect of the FSD, like many of their people, including ourselves, who are big Tesla fans. But sometimes there's approach that we disagree with, and now he got completely attacked by the Tesla super fans over this, even though all he did is share like a bad clip of FSD saying, "Damn, like this is something." And a lot of people share this opinion that it can be a problem that the way Tesla is rolling out FSD. It can also save a lot of lives. I mean, that was the interesting part of the Kara Switcher interview with Elon this week. I don't know if you saw that part set when he went on. He said, "When I first embarked into the autonomous driving venture with Tesla, I was told that even if we manage to reduce the deaths on the car deaths, the car accident deaths by 90%, the 10% that do die from self-driving car death are going to sue you, and the 90% that didn't die won't even know that you saved their lives." So I thought
That's a
that was
good point.
yeah. Oh, it is a good point for sure. But Elon said that they believe that they cannot let that stop them from doing the right thing, which is saving those 90% of people, which is a good point. But and that's the thing that I want to remind everyone before it always go in the polarizing way that, okay, are you I don't understand. Are you for Tesla or are you against Tesla? We all want the same thing. We all want those 90% of people not to die. We just have this agreement on how to get there. We all want the same thing. Like, let's try to keep that in mind. Let's stop assigning intention behind people, what people say. Like Hogan, his intention wasn't to for Tesla to fail when he shared that video. It was to point out that, oh, this is not a good example of FSD. This is an example of FSD not working well, and it's good to know that. Like I think for Tesla's rollout actually of the wider release of the FSD Beta, what the most important thing, other than actually the technology working, of course, I mean, in terms of awareness, the most important thing is for people to know that the technology can fail, and that's why they need to be 100% attentive at all time and be ready to take control at all time. And this is 100% the most important thing. Like, Tesla's approach is wild. Like, they are literally beta testing this full self-driving technology in public, on public roads. They found kind of loophole in testing it. Like, you go with any other car company, most of their car company, they work with the DMV, they work with the local legislator to try to test their autonomous technology within the laws and everything. Tesla found a loophole. They were like, this is not full self-driving. This is FSD, whatever. This is FSD, full self-driving capability, and
Beta.
but it's not full self-driving. It's just it hacks like full self-driving, but the driver is always responsible. So he's driving. So we can test it and with thousands of people on the road and get all the data from it and prove it faster like that. Which, I mean, they might be right. It might be like the quickest way to get there and to save those people that die from 30,000 people a year that die from crashes that are mostly due to human errors. But there's no doubt that this approach could also lead to a lot of issues if people have grow too confident in the software, in the capabilities of it. If they grow too confident and they don't stay attentive and everything. And that video from Galileo was actually a great example. I think we need more of those. It sounds counterintuitive, especially for Tesla fans, but we need more of those. I don't know if you have anything to add on
I
that.
agree,
I
and
kind of went on a little rant there.
no. I fully agree with that.
Okay.
Uh, so I think a lot of people have a problem, and I think I might count myself in this group, that Tesla sells full self driving. Like, they've been selling it for almost 5 years, and that includes people who got like 3-year leases. And Elon's been talking like since like what 2017 about like driving cross country, like robo taxis, like all these things. And of course, like tweets are not binding, I don't think. So like, yeah, and we all know like by now, and we should have known by 2017 that like just because Elon says like the end of the year doesn't mean it's going to happen by the end of the year. So Like, shame on us. And frankly, like, the hey, I'm going to raise the price of full self driving to like $100,000 as soon as it works, like that kind of stuff, uh, gets people like, all right, well, I better buy it now. So I guess I'm a little bit upset at myself for like letting myself go down this path because I'm like, I want to try this stuff out. I think full self driving is absolutely the future. I don't believe that Tesla's like the only company that's going to get there. I think Waymo and Cruise and Mercedes are probably going to get there as well. In fact, we were in a car in Germany that there's a lot of stipulations, but they were talking, and Mercedes was talking about how in level 2 driving you can go over the speed limit and you can do all this stuff, but level 3 driving, which they are very early stages on and let us try, it can't go over the speed limit because Mercedes is responsible.
Hmm.
It's not the driver at
Hmm.
level 2 is the driver. Level 3 is the car company or the whoever's making the software. So there's so many nuances. This is such a frontier area, uh, but I don't think I think Tesla's being a little bit irresponsible with the language and the wording, and
They're
they're gonna
being cavalier, let's say.
yeah, and obviously they're trying to sell cars and they're trying to sell
Hmm.
this $10,000 package. I just don't think um, they're being as forthcoming with, especially people like us. We cover Tesla every day. We know how the company operates.
Hmm.
We know that just because Elon says it's coming at the end of
Hmm.
2017 doesn't mean it's coming at the end of
Hmm.
2017. So our expectations should be tempered, even though I let myself believe sometimes. Uh,
I mean, it's coming from two people here that bought the FSD package.
right, right. We both, Fred and I, are both waiting for our FSD. So
Yeah.
I think part of I was a little pissed off on that when I wrote the post about the score, because I was like, all right, I'm going to drive slow, and like because of a couple of errors, and I would blame like Tesla's autopilot for
Hmm.
some of those errors. Ironically, I have a crappy score, and
Hmm.
I'm not going to have access to it for probably months now. So, and I thought it was coming. Like I thought the button was coming. I thought we are going to push the button, and then I would be doing it, and now it's like months away again.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
have to temper your expectation for
yeah.
Tesla FSD. It's consistently letting you down. Like in I know for early access owners, it's different too. Like every time I hear from them, like the I don't think they can understand like the frustration of the people that have bought FSD and are waiting for it because like they are special. They had it for a year now. It's literally been a year since the FSD has been released in early access. So and it is an impressive technology too. So they have their hands on it for a year and it keeps improving and everything. And they're like, what are you talking about? Why are you being so negative on it? Like I've been having this and like, yeah, you from your perspective, I'm sure it is great and everything, but take a step back and understand like how this wider release is going to happen, who's going to get their hands on it, how are they going to interpret the situation, and uh, like I would believe that I want to believe that a safety score thing is a good approach and it's part of Tesla wanting to be careful about it. But when you look at the practicality of it, people are just gaming the system or trying to game the system. And like people who actually get a worse score sometimes have nothing to do with the scores like we just discussed. So you see some, I don't know if it's decision, not genuine, what how does
Disingenuous.
disingenuous from Tesla, or is just like they don't know how to do it safer. Like the wider release is a risky thing, no matter how you cut it. So I don't know which way it is, but it is a fascinating thing to report on. I just wish people would have a more level-headed approach to it because again, we all want the same thing. All want people not to die in crashes, and I think the full self-driving capability is gonna help achieve that. We just disagree how to get there. That's it.
Also, I think we all want to like go to sleep in the back of our car while we're getting taken to Vermont. Like,
Oh, that yeah. I mean, you cannot say that too much because obviously it's not as important as life saving, but in term of we say that, but then if you look actually at the amount of time it's going to give people
Yeah.
as humanity as a whole, like once everyone has full self driving compared to everyone not having full self driving, the amount of time that you just gain is going to be incredible for humanity in general. So that's insane too. I shouldn't say insane. Insane. Wow, not ableist. Uh, all right, the Model X, which has kind of been left on the back burner as we focus on the new Model S. But this week at the Fremont factory, there was a few units that were spotted in the delivery lot. Doesn't mean that deliveries are starting now. We don't even have the EPA range on it just yet. Um, but it is a sign that they produced a few units for testing, maybe or something. And we're likely to see the delivery starts this quarter. But yeah, I'm really curious to see the numbers too because I want to see where we had with the Model S. So that would give us a good indication to if Tesla, let's say, delivered, I don't know, six, seven, between 6 and 10,000 Model S throughout the quarter. That would be a good indication that they are going to be ready to add the Model X to the production and start deliveries too. I'm really curious how the Model X is gonna do too, because the new version, because the Model X has been doing fine like, compared to the Model S in some markets because of just the novelty of it. It's a more recent vehicle than the Model S, and it wasn't as much of a need as a refresh as the Model S. But they increased the price a lot too with the refresh. It starts at $100,000 for the long range version, so it's kind of in a new category now in terms of pricing. So but Tesla, at the same time, this week they updated the delivery timeline from March, April to May, June of 2022. So they pushed it a significant amount. Now, is it because they don't plan to have the production ready enough? I mean, not by then. This is just Tesla has already a giant backlog on order on this probably. But did the backlog increase and they had to push that, or is it a delay that pushed that? Like we don't know. But something to note. Either way. All right, one last thing that we're going to discuss real quick before we jump into the comment because we're already an hour into this podcast. But if you have a question, and I know there's a bunch already, we're going to get to them. You can put them in all cap in the comment section below, and we're going to discuss them in a few seconds because I just want to say that the Tesla Cyber Quad is alive. I
Thank God.
posted that. Yeah, I posted that this week because like we've basically haven't heard anything about the Cyber Quad since the launch of the Cybertruck in 2019, and it was kind of the one more thing. Like Tesla brought it up on stage, put it in the Cybertruck. Look, it fits perfectly in the Cybertruck. And by the way, we're gonna make that electric ATV too. And people are like, "Hey, this is so cool," myself included. But then Elon said, "Yeah, it's gonna be an option for the Cybertruck." But then Tesla hasn't talked about it for like 2 years, and just now uh, the only thing that we saw from it is like this sighting, for example, which I think was Battery Day. So there's been a few sighting of it, but that's about it. But this week, Tesla secured, or not secured, applied for another trademark on the Cyberquad. So they already had the trademark for the Cyberquad. They applied for it when the vehicle was on the reveal back in 2019 for the trademark for vehicles. So now they applied for another trademark for apparel, so to put them on shirts. So now that doesn't seem like a big deal, but to me, I thought it was noteworthy enough that Tesla is still doing something about the Cyberquad. So they're still like working on the brand of it because I wouldn't believe that Tesla would start selling a shirt for the Cyberquad if they don't plan to have the ATV anymore. So it looks like it's still in Tesla's plans at the very least. Also, the Cybertruck has been delayed to late next year anyway, so they still have some time to work on the actually bringing the Cyberquad to market. But they need to get to work on that because this is a kind of completely different like vehicle segment for them. Like a small vehicle like that, they're probably gonna have to produce a new motor, a new electric motor, unless they partner with Zero. I know they use a Zero motorcycle powertrain in there, and Zero has been doing deals like that. By the way, they do deals with other manufacturer of small personal electric vehicles. All right, let's jump into the comments.
All right. First question, Tesla numbers 420. Okay. Do you think cinema and mansion will stop the EV bill? From Jonathan Root. So this is the big drama in Washington right now is there's two Democrats that are kind of centrist. that don't seem to want to pass the infrastructure bill. So I'm going to get this wrong, but there's two bills that they separated. One is a smaller one that I think is bipartisan, so it should be easy to get through. But there's 9 progressives in the uh, on the Democratic Party side that won't pass that until
Mhm.
the bigger 3.5 trillion dollar thing passes.
Which is a social investment bill, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, that's a lot more.
And that's where the EV incentive is, right?
Right.
The social
So
bill.
so if these two Democrats can't get um if they're not on board with the 3.5 trillion dollar, which is crazy number,
Mm.
bill, then the 9 progressives won't get on board with the other bills,
The
which is
infrastructure bill, which includes the 7 billion for charging stations, seven
right.
billion for buses, and things like that.
I mean, both bills have some green energy components, and I
Yeah.
think that's probably why these two are probably getting paid a lot of money not to vote for it. I'm assuming. Manchin, like he's from Kentucky, I believe, or West Virginia or something, and he owns like a coal company. Like it's like the worst. He's like, well, it's in a blind trust, but like the 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 checks that come in, they're not in
Yeah.
a blind trust.
Yeah.
They're whatever, and
It's a
so
blind trust, but you know that like if you vote for something that's good for coal, it's good for you. Like, it's
right,
not
exactly.
just
It's like the worst type of corruption. And
mm,
Manchin, like, frankly, it's a catch-22 because like no Democrat, like it's the most right-leaning area of the world probably,
mm,
uh, and Manchin's a Democrat and he somehow got elected there and
mm.
has been getting elected for a long time. So you
Where,
can't
where
like.
where did you say he is again?
I think it's West Virginia or
No.
Kentucky, and I hate to
Okay.
stereotype those together. I'm sure the culture there is totally different, but uh, it's somewhere in the Appalachia,
I
and
think you're right about Virginia. I think I've heard
yeah,
Virginia. Yeah.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Um, so the problem is like you can't primary this guy because like there's no
Mm,
Democrat that's going to ever get that seat except the most right leaning Democrat that ever was,
mm.
which is him. So you got to get more, you know, got to get more hipsters to move out to Wyoming or something because,
To
like,
why to West Virginia?
right.
You keep getting those right. Yeah. So
Uh,
the answer is we don't know, Jonathan.
yeah.
Unfortunately, is we're gonna have to have a political expert here, but I would assume that some kind of bill will pass for electric vehicles. Just what form it's gonna take, it might be a little bit less than what's in the original form that we've seen in the last few months.
All right. Frank Ruddy says, did they mention what the battery warranty is? And I'm assuming he's talking about Rivian.
Yeah.
And they did, and I didn't put it in the story, but there's a couple warranties. There's comprehensive, the cost of all parts and labor necessary for the defective media, 5 years or 60,000 miles. Battery pack coverage is 175,000 miles
Mm,
and 70% or more of the battery capacity for 8 years or that 175,000 miles.
that's good.
Drivetrain coverage is 8 years or 175,000 miles. Corrosion, perforation, body panels are perforated for 8 years. So I would say a really good warranty
Yeah,
over there.
yeah.
Um, and the charging speed. So we did talk
Mm,
briefly
yeah.
about that. I got at 50% at an Electrify America 350 kilowatt charger. 145. Was that right? 145
Yeah,
um,
144, something like that.
kilowatts. I had seen 220 kilowatts, and they said it's eventually going to be, with some software updates, able to go up to 250 kilowatts, which will give you a full charge in about half hour. Not full, but like to 80%.
Yeah.
All right, moving southward here. Um, do you think Tesla might eventually adopt the ISO 15118 standard for plug-in charge in their vehicles and or superchargers? Tesla is a member of the Charin CCS combo group. It would be nice if they did it at this very moment. It doesn't really make sense
Mhm.
because they all Teslas charge at Tesla stations
Mm.
just fine. I guess it would be good now because that doesn't work over Chatamo and there's no official CCS combo adapter for Teslas yet. So they don't really need to have that yet. But I think when they do, I think Tesla will be one of the first
For
to
sure.
do
Like
that.
they won't like they already have the experience, just not using the same standard. They're gonna want to keep the same experience. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
Tesla knows how important that experience is. Um, so right now we know Porsche has it. They got one over software update to the Taycans. The Mustang Mach-E had it from the get-go, which was impressive.
mm-hmm.
And now we know the Rivian is going to have it, and that's it.
Volkswagen working on it too.
Volkswagen has promised it via
Yeah,
software update, but like, man, I talked to
yeah,
those guys and I was like, guys, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
get that's the number one thing you guys should be working on software wise. They're like, yeah, we're working. It's on the list. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you own Volkswagen owns
Electrify
Electrify
America.
America. Like, just work, get it done.
Give them a contract or something. Like they were familiar with that software. They can
Yeah, no
probably
kidding.
help
And
you guys.
Porsche got it done, and
Yeah,
they're also VW. So
yeah,
like, just make some
yeah,
calls. Like,
yeah.
there's probably a cubicle down the road. All right. Greg says caps lock feels like I'm a crazy person. That's all right. Greg, how
No,
did
you already answered that
the
one.
configuration? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I also got the 20-inch wheels and let's see, yeah, the adventure stuff. I didn't get the kitchen. You can't get a kitchen in the SUV. So moving south, I could see Electrek on P Hub now. Okay.
I think we're misusing now the full cap thing. The full cap's supposed to be questions.
Yeah. I think maybe our next platform will be Twitch,
Yeah,
and then
before we move to Pornhub.
before
Yeah,
Pornhub. Yeah. All right. Lucid is going after the enormous Bentley market. Well,
is
they're
it
going after the
enormous?
luxury. I think he's being sarcastic.
Okay.
Also, the caps lock. Um, does Micah do a podcast to discuss personal transport news? Lots of news on mopeds and scooters. Luke,
Nobody should.
that's a great question. We should totally do it. We keep meaning to do it. It's just like one of those things that keeps falling off the list.
Yeah.
Kind of like plug and charge for Volkswagen. We're on it. We're thinking about it. It's going to happen. Like, we got so much to talk about. It'd be so much fun. All right. Seattle Vienna says, "Will we see true full self driving this decade?" Let's see. What time is it?
Well, we still have plenty of time. As a kid, I in some market, 100% for sure. Now, whether it's gonna be like it's already happening in geofence area, like in Arizona and a few other places. So it depends really on how you see it. But the Tesla approach of like just be full self driving level 5 um, looks like to me like I think they are getting close to that. My only issue is like there's some blind spot issues with the way that the current hardware is, and there's definitely problem in some weather conditions and things like that. Like was it gonna work like with all the snows? Like I just drive my Model 3, which has the latest like autopilot hardware on it and everything. And just when I'm using autopilot, I sometimes get alerts like, "Oh, you have like this camera is partly blocked and everything, and it's just like one piece of snow on it or something like it's one snowflake." It's there's some issues to it. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I feel like there needs to be solution that we don't see yet.
All right. I agree. Luke Miller says, "Did you try Android Auto in your Teslas yet?"
Uh, I was supposed to, but I couldn't find an Android phone.
Oh wow,
uh, that's my problem right
I've got a
now.
whole shelf full of them over here
Yeah, I need
from
one. I
back
need
in
one
the
of yours.
back in the
Used to
95
have
Google days.
my Samsung Fold that
Yeah, what
folded.
happened?
Yeah, that didn't work out. I
Oh
was the
man.
first gen Fold that not first gen, second gen. Anyway, it stopped working. That screen didn't work well, and I got screwed by Samsung because I bought that thing in France, and then
Uh,
there was no way for me to return it whatsoever. They wouldn't take it back, even though you're supposed to have like a premium service when you buy one of those insanely expensive phones for Samsung. But they find a way to not repair it for me, so I got screwed with that. So I'm not using Android for a while, but I think I can find one. I think I can borrow like one of my brothers or something.
yeah, Ben Schoen from the 95 Google team said he was going to hook me up with it. So I hope to
Well,
have
I
it.
can send it to you. I have
The code,
the code for it. You can just download it.
you
Yeah,
know where.
I wouldn't recommend it until we're gonna try it ourselves because we know that I mean, the developer admitted himself that there's some issues with the beta right now, but it's still usable, and then so you can find use for it. But is it worth the six or $7 it costs right now? I don't know. We're gonna have to test it out for
I don't know,
ourselves.
$6 or $7
Yeah,
for Android
yeah,
Auto seems
yeah,
like a pretty good deal if he can make it happen.
yeah.
All right, Jack Sando says, "Do you think the R1T spare would fit into the frunk?" No, it's 4 cubic feet larger than the real rear bin. Those are big tires, though.
Yeah.
But just like the gear tunnel, I can't judge the dimensions from the photos. Unloading your gear and firewood on the side of the trail to access your spare sounds almost as bad as having to unload heavier cargo on the side of the highway. That's a great point. That's a annoying place to put a spare. That said, theoretically, it's going to be a pretty rare instance, hopefully,
Mm,
that you need a spare. Maybe if you're like, going off road
mm,
on, what we did, and one out of every 5 or 6
mm,
trucks gets flat, you put the spare somewhere a little
mm.
bit easier to access. What do you think?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Definitely.
All right. Uh, all right. Seriously, do you really think self-driving is possible?
Of
Okay.
course it is.
It's a 60 House progressive bill that will not pass do you bipartisan bill without the other bill. All right.
Yeah.
Crazy John says, I forgot caps before. Do you know if and when the Rivians are available in Europe? They have something on their page. I think they're coming, I want to say to the UK or something. Let me, no matches found on their help pages real quick. So I don't know for sure. I'll probably Google it. And then we have,
Rivian confirms 2022 European plans.
oh, cool. I wonder where in Europe Crazy John's from. That sounds like a French name. All right. Uh, full self driving, future self driving, always in the future.
Mm.
And then our last comment is Ben Pena, Chevy Volt's one of the best hybrids. Why do they seem to get rid of products that are good? Remember the EV1, GM got rid of that even though they had loyal customers. The Volt was pretty good. It did have a lot of electric miles, which I appreciated for a plug-in hybrid. Um, I think they thought that, when you look at what's going on in Norway right now, the numbers came out, I think, today. Their
Mm-hmm.
plug-in hybrids are actually going down because more people are buying electric. I think once you get a full electric car, the hybrid thing doesn't really make sense anymore. And I think that's kind of what GM's electric group was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it was always a transitional technology, I think. So
Right.
GM is now admitting that it's going electric is going to be the future. So you're not going to waste any time on that technology anymore. But I do agree with Ben that it was a good car for its time. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. That's it.
yeah. Oh, we have Leonard there that says, "Any thoughts on the Cyberlander prototypes? Congrats on winning
Oh,
it."
yeah. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Any thoughts on it? I thought, like I said in my winning speech, they had me right on it. Well, by the way, a lot of people are saying that they picked me on it. They did not. I don't. Well, I mean, I have no way to know to be honest, but I don't think they picked me. It was based on the number of referrals that you get, and I had more referrals than anyone on it. Like I think I had like 70,000 points, 70,000 entries in that uh in that contest. Like in the next closest one at like 20 or something. So it makes sense that I would win. But yeah, I mean, like I wrote in the speech, I think it's the most ambitious Tesla accessory ever. So does that mean that it's might be too ambitious? It's possible, but I don't know the team that well. I mean, maybe they are able to pull it off. I saw the prototype that you're referring to, and it looks like some progress. But I mean, we're far off of what the original rendering that they released. That was, again, if they can pull that off, it's wild. Like, this is awesome. It's nuts. But yeah, I need to see a lot more progress than this to think that I'm actually gonna get that thing on my Cybertruck, which I would definitely do it. By the way, I'd buy a Cybertruck and and get that thing. It's awesome. Like, it's what did the kids call it? Like um, glamping, like glamour camping, glamping. I think I want
Oh,
to
yeah.
say
Glamping. Yeah.
glamping. It's basically that. Yeah, it's awesome. All right. Thanks everyone for watching the show or listening in on your podcast app. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up or a review. It helps the show much more than you think, and it's 100% free to do. And that's it for this week. I hope you liked the episode because it was a pretty long one, right? 100 something, 120. And same place, same time next Friday.